Alright, hey there. I know I do not upload on this channel a lot, but some ideas have popped into my head for some videos to make, and one of them was to make a complete Halo modding tutorial series for Halo the Master Chief Collection. And while I know that there are people who have already made some beginner tutorials and whatnot, I want to make a complete tutorial series for all the Halo games up to Halo 4. So basically, that's going to cover all the games in the Master Chief Collection, plus Halo Custom Edition, and some Halo 2. I'm not sure if I'm going to do Halo 2 on Windows Vista yet, but it's Halo 2 Vista. I can't talk today. But I may do that if you guys enjoy the series enough. But until then, I'm going to go through each game and the modding process in chronological order. So I will be starting with Halo Reach first, and that will be covered in this video. So I just want to address some questions that I see a lot of people asking on other modding tutorial series. Is just for an example, I saw one. Can you take a Halo 2 Anniversary Elite model and port it into Halo 3, for example? That's just a no. Because Halo 2 Anniversary, the engine it's using is far more advanced than Halo 3's. So if you were going to try and port a Halo 2 Anniversary model to Halo 3, it wouldn't work. Because Halo 3 is a much older engine, so you'd be trying to backport a model to another engine, and it's the same with adding the Lich from Halo 4 into Halo 2. That's just impossible. Or the Lich into Halo Reach. I saw somebody ask that. Can you take the Lich from Halo 4 and put it into Halo Reach? No, because again, the engine version is much different, and there's a whole lot of reasons why. For example, a 3D model's polygon count is probably too high. So if you were going to try and port a Halo 4 Lich into Halo Reach, the polygon count would probably get exceeded. I mean, I've seen it happen. People have ported it into Halo Custom Edition, so it could work, but there's just a lot of other factors as to why more than likely not. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. So no, you can't backport things into other things. You can only work really with assets that are in that game. So with Halo Reach, we'll only be working with assets that are within Halo Reach and such. But there's only one slight exception to the backporting rule, is with Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST, because you can take assets from ODST and basically backport them to Halo 3, but that's because they basically run on the exact same engine version. There's pretty much no difference between ODST and 3. And if you've seen Rejected Shotgun, he's done that. He's ported several things from ODST to Halo 3. So it's not impossible. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way, and with that being said, let's begin. So the first thing we'll need is our modding tool, which is called Assembly. And I will leave the links to anything you need in the description below. So first, we're going to go to GitHub to this page for Assembly. And normally in the past, until this actually recently just got an update. Before that, you would have to go to a branch, download the source files for it, and you would have to compile it using Visual Studio, which a lot of people said was really complicated, and it was for me too. It took me a while to figure it out. But now they do have some actual downloaders. But before the update, the downloader was outdated, so you'd be getting an outdated version that wouldn't work with the Master Chief Collection. But thank goodness it just got an update. So if you didn't see, you want to scroll down to the downloading tab, and you'll want to click on the GitHub release system link, which will take you to the assembly downloader page. And then you'll just want to click on assemblydownloader.zip. So you'll open that. And by the way, you will need WinRAR. I guess I already had it downloaded, but whatever. And then just double click on the downloader.exe. Pick the dev branch. They're both on the same dates, so it doesn't really matter, but I choose the dev version because you get slightly more features than just the master version. So then just click next. choose your install directory. I'm going to have mine installed to my other hard drive. Click next. It'll ask you, yes, create the folder. And there we go. And then uncheck that for now. Finish. There you go. You have assembly installed. Now that we're done with that, I still had Master Chief Collection running. Ha 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 ha. Funny, funny. Anyways, when you're done, you'll want to go to your hard drive and find where you installed it. In my case, it's right here. And then just run it. And then it'll ask you for just ignore the update. This is true. It's not a cheating tool, even though I've seen people use it as a cheating tool. So, but whatever. Okay, so this is assembly. This is the tool that we will use to mod our games. And I'll just give you a brief rundown. You can open map files. Creating and poking patches I will get to at a later date. If you ever are confused, so let's actually, really quick, let's navigate to where you have Steam installed. Find your Steam folder, Steam apps, Common, Master Chief Collection, and then these are all the folders of all the games. And in this case, we'll be doing Halo Reach. And then you'll want to go to Maps. Take all of these maps that you have installed, create a backup folder of all the maps. Because, trust me, you will need them. Because there will be times where if you try to do a mod and it crashes your game or corrupts the map file, you will need a backup. So make a backup folder. And that goes for each game, too. Not just for Halo Reach, but for Halo 3, create backups. I haven't created one for Halo 3 yet because I had to reinstall the game recently. But that goes for everything. Create backups. Always. Create backups. I can't stress that enough. So anyway, you'll see all these numbers in these map files and you may get confused as to what they are. In assembly, if you go to Tools, so you go to Map Names in the Help tab, and then this tells you what all the maps are, what all the map names actually are. So we go to Halo Reach, it tells you every single map file. So the first mod we will be making, which is probably one that's been done to death now in Halo, but it's a good starter, is a flyable Pelican on Forge World, which, of course, everybody wants. Everybody wants the flyable Pelican. So we're going to be doing that as our first official mod. So, in this case, we want Forge World. So Forge World is Forge_Halo. So we'll go back, and also, just as a tip, you can also mess around with assembly. You can change the colors and stuff. I like mine as green. And then also, I should have mentioned this, but for your default editor, you'll want to associate all these different types of files with assembly. I'm not sure if it's needed, but I would do it anyway. I've been doing it, so I would do it too. Also, this is a good tip. There is no save button, because when you edit tags and such, or when you edit things in assembly, your changes are saved automatically, so that's nice. So anyway, we'll go to Open Content File, and then once again you'll want to navigate to your Halo Reach folder in your Master Chief Collection root directory, under your Steam folder. Go to Maps, and then find Forge_Halo. So we'll double click that, open it, and then we'll want to go to Tags. Now, these are all tags in Halo are basically everything that are inside the level that makes up a certain level and makes up the game. So you have sound tags, you have mixing tags, you have vehicle tags, weapon tags, wind tags, and such, character tags, all these different tags, and we will get into these eventually. But in order to get the Pelican into Forge World, which it is already in the newest update for Master Chief, it's already on Forge World, but we want an actual flyable one. Now, again, I'm not sure if this is required, but I don't want to take the extra time to do it, so we're going to open up one of the campaign maps. I'm going to open up New Alexandria, which is m52.map, because this one actually does have a flyable Pelican on it. So you can just type in the search bar for Pelican, go down to the Vehi tag, or the vehicle tag, and you'll find the Pelican tag right here. Right-click on it, and hit Extract. Now this is where you want to make a folder for all your tag.c or tag container files, which basically contains all the relevant data and tags to make up a certain object. Like if you're going to extract a Pelican, it will grab all the necessary tags that the Pelican are dependent on and put it into basically one giant container file. I make a folder for all of mine so I can just look through them easily so they're not just spewed throughout my Halo Reach folder. So I already have one here, but I'm just going to delete it and replace it. Just call it Pelican and save it. And then it may take a minute to extract depending on your machine, but for me it takes not too terribly long. Okay, so extracted all of it. Go to OK. We can close out of this now. Go back to Forge Halo. Go down to the bottom and hit Import. And then click on the Pelican. Now don't change anything here because these are preset based on the game that you're importing the tag to. So for this case, keep sound tags. You will want the sound tags, which is nice that assembly actually supports sound injection as well, because again, when I started modding on the Xbox 360, it wouldn't import the sound tags. It didn't support sound injection, so everything was quiet, which kind of sucked. But that's not the case anymore. So anyway, just keep all of these checked. Don't check this box. Leave it unchecked because these are all preset by game. And you can also see the tags that are being imported. So you can go down to the V tag, and all of them that are relevant to the Pelican are all in here. Go back to options and then hit inject. Sometimes the importing takes a while. Okay, see, we did have the Pelican in the map, but it needed more tags. So it did import more tags for us to use. Just hit OK, and now we've injected a fully working Pelican into Forge World. Now, how do we get it so that we can spawn it into the Forge palette, is what I'm trying to say. In that case, we'll want to go type in SCNR, which is the scenario tag for the entire level, basically. This is everything relevant to the actual level itself. Now, first thing, type in sandbox, and we'll have two options that we want to mess with. Don't mess with the legacy sandbox info. Only mess with these two. So the budget, we can set it to anything we want. I'm going to go 99999 just because. And then we'll want to move down to the Forge palette, or the sandbox palette is what it's called in here. And now we have this is basically everything that you see when you bring up the Forge menu. You got your vehicles, weapons, gadgets, armor abilities, structure, scenery, and whatnot. And the extra tabs that have everything in there. In our case, we are going to add an addition to the vehicle tab, let's just say. You can customize the menus any way you want. You can add, remove, and whatnot. So we're going to add an addition to the vehicle tab. So we're going to go down to the entries. So don't add anything to because this is adding categories for the palette itself. This is adding an entry. So this is adding a vehicle basically. So we're going to add below the Wraith. We're going to click that little gear icon, hit add or remove elements, and then add an element. So now we go down, we have an empty one here that we can use. So we're going to want to go to strings because we want the Pelican to have a name in the menu, otherwise it'll just be blank. So you'll want to go to the top here, go to strings, and then click English. Strings in Halo are essentially, they're the text that show up in game and different HUD messages and whatnot, but we want to go to the Forge strings. So just scroll until you find Forge strings, and then we're going to go all the way down to the bottom. And now you see they did have a Pelican Flyable in here, but it's not actually usable. So we're going to make our own custom tag for it, or string for it. And I'm just going to call it mod_Pelican. And this is just the string ID so that when we, in the scenario tag, we put in our string ID as it says here. We enter a string ID and it calls that string ID, and whatever the value is what will show up. So in this case, we'll just have Pelican Dropship. So then we'll save it. Continue. String saved successfully. So now it calls the string ID, finds that string ID, and whatever the value is what it displays. So in this case, it'll display our custom text. And now we want a custom enter string. So before we do that, we will add mod_Pelican right here. Then we can add another entry variant, which essentially is just basically the vehicle itself, and or if there's several other variants of a vehicle, like for example the Warthogs. There are Warthog Default, Gauss, and Rocket Warthogs. But in this case, we only have one variant, which is just the Pelican itself. So in this case, just enter mod Pelican again. Scroll down to the VHE tags, and then now, if you're having trouble, like I know it's right here, but if you're having trouble finding a certain tag, click the magnifying glass, and then you can type it in, and it'll find it for you. So that can be a lot easier when you have a ton of tags and you just can't find it. So in this case, here's our Pelican. Now, when we go to the Pelican tag, hit go to, and this brings up the Pelican vehicle tag. So this is everything related to the Pelican. So the first thing I want to bring attention to is this default model variant. We can change different variants of what the Pelican will look like in-game. So when we go, in order to change this, we need to see what variants we can change it to. In that case, we can go to the model tag, or the HLMT tag, hit go to, that'll bring up its model tag. All the different variants will be listed under the variants category. So we have default, Oni, no interior, Oni no interior, damaged, damaged Oni no interior, damaged Oni no interior Cine, which is cinematic, and no interior cinematic. Now, the Pelican normally doesn't have an interior in it. If we were to just spawn the Pelican in as it is, we would be able to fly it, but it wouldn't have it would have an interior, but the glass on the cockpit would be not see-through. So in order to make it see-through, we're going to change it to the Oni variant. So this variant name here, whatever the variant name is here, under the default model variant is what you want to enter. So in this case, we will be using the Oni variant of the Pelican. So we'll save that, and we can close out of the HLMT tag. Now, if we go down to the seats, so just search for seats and then go to the seats category, we want to make this actually usable. And we will check this gunner flag because we want to be able to use the machine gun turret that's on the Pelican. Because normally, if you've done the Pelican glitch on New Alexandria, you can't actually use the Pelican's turret while you're flying because it's actually a separate whole seat in and of itself that normally an AI would sit in. That way, for like cinematic moments where a Pelican is coming into land, it won't have to readjust itself to actually shoot at something because the gunner is actually in its own AI entity, essentially. But we're going to actually make it so we can use the gun while we're flying. So you want to check this gunner tab, and then scroll down and uncheck invalid for player, because normally this is checked for a lot of vehicles, so that way the player can't use it. But we want to, so uncheck that, and then that's it. So for the seat animation, it doesn't have a seat. Normally it does have a seat animation in campaign maps, but when you inject something into Forge, I'm not sure if they fixed this with assembly yet. It doesn't have the proper seat animation, so we're just going to change it to something like Warthog D, which is Warthog Driver. And why we do that is because if you leave it on Pelican D, the Spartan will literally be poking out of the cockpit window, holding a fake rifle, because it has no animation to play. So you want to change that. And then these you want to leave the same. We want to scroll down. And also, one thing I figured out from Rejected Shotguns mod is he changed the pitch of the Pelican. Changed this to 45 so you have a greater range of pitching vertically. Because normally the Pelican has a very limited range. That's why it was only set to 5. So definitely want to change that. Save it. Okay, so now we're going to scroll down until we find enter seat string. If you can't find it, again, you can just search it. in the top bar, and it'll be there. So this enter seat string is essentially when you walk up to a vehicle and it says on your HUD, it'll say press X to drive Warthog or something like that for a vehicle. We want to make our own custom one for the Pelican. So we're going to go back to our English strings, scroll down to UI HUD messages, and these relate to all the HUD messages in the game. So this is like hold, and button action primary, weapon primary is essentially whatever button you have mapped to pick up a weapon. So this is all the HUD messages in the game. So we want to make our own. So we're going to call this Pelican enter pilot. And for the value, we're going to do hold right arrow, which is on your comma, underscore, button, action, generic, backslash, and then another, I guess is a less than symbol. And we're going to say press or hold that to pilot Pelican dropship. And there we go. We have a custom tag and a custom seat string to go with it. So again, essentially what this means is whatever you have mapped to your action button, which normally is the X button, or it could be your right bumper depending on what playstyle you play on. Now we can save that, go back to the Pelican tag and enter our Pelican enter pilot as our seat string. Now, we don't need to mess with these. And then for the entry radius, and it says at the bottom there under the plugin line, how close to the entry market a unit must be for this message to pop up. I'm going to change it to probably about 2, so we don't have to get right up close to it, but we can get close enough that we can still enter it. And now here's a really cool feature. The opening function and the closing function. This essentially controls if you look at a Pelican, it's got the rear troop bay doors. We can make it so that when we enter the Pelican, those doors will close, and when we exit, the doors will open. So it's something really cool I never figured out until actually very recently, and you can do it with the Covenant dropship as well. So we're just going to enter open, close for the function name. And then we can change the open time and closing time. I like to keep it at probably about 4 for each. So it'll take 4 seconds for it to open and close. Now we can save that. And then I don't believe there's one more thing. We're actually done with the Pelican vehicle tag itself. So we can get rid of that. But we will need to do one thing with the Pelican chin gun attachment, because this is actually a separate attachment that's literally just attached to the vehicle. But it's its own vehicle tag, because like I said, it needs to be its own vehicle tag so that way an AI can actually sit in the gun and use it. But we're going to scroll down to this flags section under unit. We're going to check controlled by parent gunner. So when we check the gunner flag on our driver tab, this corresponds with this, which means the parent gunner can use this. So now we can control the turret while we're driving. So again, save it. And make sure to save your scenario tag. And now we're ready to test it out in-game. Okay, so now we're in-game. Oh yeah, I forgot. I did some tweaking with some AI too. So just ignore the dude in the Warthog. Just ignore him. Now, we're going to go up here. Now if you go into your Forge menu, go under Vehicles. Under the Wraith, we have our Pelican dropship. Click it. And hopefully, if you did everything right, if you followed what I did, you should have it here. And as you see, since we did the Oni variant, the cockpit windows are actually see-through. And our doors are already open on the Pelican, as they should, because we did the open and close function. So, drop it. You go up to it. There's our custom enter string up in the top right. Hold E, and we are in the Pelican. You can use, and now we can fly it. And as you see, we have a reticle because we can actually use the turret. So now we can actually use the turret, and as you see, when we got in, the doors on the back actually closed. So there we go. We have a usable Pelican. And another neat feature of assembly I want to show you is poking. Now, poking is essentially poking memory values into the game. It's basically real-time editing. So let's say, for some reason, I don't like the pitch value that we added for the Pelican. So I'm going to go down to the pitch range. I need to find the one that we actually edited, because for some reason there's multiple. Here we go. So we changed it to 45. For some reason I don't like that. I'm going to change it to 5. Now you don't save, because if you try and save you'll get an error because the game is currently running. You want to poke it. So it says right there, pokes current changes to the cache file in memory, which essentially, again, is real-time editing. So you poke it, and at the bottom all change fields have been poked to the game. And now, see, I can barely move my camera upward. I can only go that far. And that's actually normally how the Pelican's camera is. And it's basically, I guess, to make it so that the AI, it makes it look more realistic when a Pelican is flying away, I guess. I'm not sure. I'm not completely sure why, but that's my best guess. But that's why we changed that value to 45. So that way it matches negative 45, so we can go 45 units down and 45 units up. So we poke that back. Now I can go up farther. So it's a much more maneuverable Pelican. But anyways, that is our first mod, is getting a flyable Pelican into Forge World. So, if you did everything right, if you followed my steps, you should have an actual usable Pelican in Forge World. So you can give yourself a nice pat on the back for that. Now, our next tutorial, I hope to cover more things like player characteristics, so you can change your player speed, you can change your HUD colors, things like that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this first mod tutorial from me. I hope to make more in the future. If you guys like it, I definitely will continue the series. I hope to hear you guys' feedback. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a safe day in this COVID 2020. God, I'm so ready for this year to be done. And it's almost done, so. But I don't know if 2021 is going to be any better. But anyway, see you guys.